Madam President.
Senator from Oklahoma.
Madam President, a week ago, the Senate went on a short one-week recess to be back in our state. It was already scheduled for us to be in our state, getting a chance to be able to just interact with the people at home. It's a good week to be able to interact with a lot of people back home for me personally. But we all watched as we were scattered around the country in the past week, Russia rolled tanks into Ukraine. And we watched in horror as Russian aircraft flew over Ukrainian cities, as they fired missiles into Ukrainian apartment complexes, as they have slaughtered their neighbors because Putin wanted their land and to dominate the region. All of us, as we got back together this week, were ready to be able to speak into the issues with Ukraine, ready to be able to stand with the people of Ukraine, ready to be able to talk about the sanctions and what was going to happen and how we were going to actually respond to the Russians murdering their neighbors and a dictator thug trying to dominate the region. But instead of that, my Democrat colleagues decided not to talk about Ukraine when we got back together, but instead, they want to talk about expanding abortion in America. How incredibly tone-deaf is that? The whole world is talking about Ukraine and the oppression they're experiencing, and the United States Senate is talking about how do we get more abortions in America? That's what we're going to vote on? That's what we're going to debate, is how do we get and increase abortions in America when the world sees what's happening in Ukraine? What in the world? How tone-deaf can we be? This body should be the place where we're actually debating the biggest issues of the day, and apparently to my Democrat colleagues, the biggest issue of the day is how many more abortions can we get in America? Because that seems to be bigger than Ukraine, bigger than 7.5% inflation, bigger than $30 trillion in debt, bigger than anything. The most important thing is, how can we take the life of more children? What does this body become when there's an obsession with abortion? This is the most pro-abortion president this country has ever had, and the most pro-abortion Democrat Party our country has ever seen. It is now impermissible to be a Democrat and to support the life of children. You're pushed out of the party. And it's moved from, there used to be the vast majority of Democrats were pro-life Democrats, to then it was fewer and fewer and fewer. And now it's moved from, you can't just not be pro-life. Now you have to actually be pro-abortion, well beyond pro-choice. Now you have to find ways to increase abortions in America to be accepted in the party. This is not where America is. The bill that's being brought to the floor in just minutes from now, in the middle of a war in Ukraine, is not about protecting Ukrainians. It's not even about protecting children in our country. It's about destroying children in our country. This bill is being advertised as it was just going to codify Roe. Oh, it's not going to just codify Roe. This is talking about stripping away every protection for every child in the womb from any state in the country. This particular bill prohibits parental notification. If a child wants to get an abortion, this bill says to the parents, you don't get to know if your child is having an abortion. By the way, name another medical procedure that the parents are not allowed to be able to know about for their own child. This takes away waiting periods. It takes away health and safety standards for abortion clinics. So abortion clinics in every state can't have health and safety clinics because those clinics that take the life of children, we don't care what they look like or the health and safety standards of them. It takes away ultrasound requirements. This bill literally says to expectant moms, you don't need to know what's going on in your body. We'll just take care of it for you. So no state is allowed to be able to inform a mom what's actually happening in her own body, because the goal of this is not getting information to moms. The goal of this is increasing abortions. Because all that happens with an ultrasound is give information to the mom and let her choose. Oh no, that's not acceptable because she may choose life, and this bill is determined to increase the number of abortions in America. I remember a time when my Democrats used to talk about safe, legal, and rare. Now they just want it safe, legal, and common. What have we become? This bill is the 1 minute from infanticide bill. It mandates abortion in every state up to the moment of birth. That's North Korea. That's China, not the United States of America, except for this Senate. They want to be more like North Korea and China, apparently, to be able to follow their great humanitarian example and to be a nation that takes the life of children rather than protects each child as precious. They look in the womb and see a business model. I look in the womb and see 10 fingers and 10 toes and a beating heart and a functioning nervous system in DNA that is different than the mom's or the dad's DNA. In every definition of science, that is a unique person and a unique child, but it only seems to be a nuisance to some. I don't think children are a nuisance. I think children are precious. And in a day when we should be talking and debating about protecting life in Ukraine, this body instead, and my Democrat colleagues, don't want to talk about Ukraine. They just want to talk about abortion. Again. It's heartbreaking that's where we are. It's also heartbreaking that this body has become this focused when the rest of the country is saying, how can we add limits to abortion? The latest poll, 71% of Americans want at least some restrictions on abortion, but oh no, not in this body. Apparently, there are people that disagree with the American people and they say, no limits, any moment, any time, any child. I don't believe a single person in this chamber should vote for this bill, not only because of what it does to the states, but what it does to just decent people. If you're an individual working in a hospital today, and when you were hired, you said, I went into the medical profession to save life, not take it. And when you were hired as a nurse or as a doctor, you said, I don't want to perform abortions. That's allowed right now under law. It wouldn't be under this. If you go into the medical profession, you will perform abortions when Democrats in D.C. tell you to perform abortions because they want more. And so conscience protections are taken away in this bill. And people of conscience, people of faith that say, I don't want to take the life of children will be required or they'll lose their job. And oh, by the way, if you try to slow someone down from getting an abortion, this bill actually gives the right for someone to sue you if you try to limit them from having an abortion. This is by far the most extreme pro-abortion bill that has ever been put in front of Congress, ever. And it was done when we should be debating Ukraine. But Ukraine's not important. Abortion is. And so my Democrat colleagues did this instead today as the callback vote and the response to Putin's aggression. Well, I disagree. I disagree. I yield the floor.